We're waiting for this for Mondays. Before we started, I wanted to introduce you guys the co-founder, Abhi Gupta. But I want to talk about him a bit more. He is a family man. He's our leader. He's our mentor. We have learned so many things from him, and we still are learning, and we're going to continue learning. So I'm going to ask him to come in, to welcome him here, Abhi Gupta. Let's stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Get up. Hey.
And give yourself a round of applause for making it to Bali Elevate 2.0 in Bali. Oh, I'm still trying to get my breath out. Right. All right. Guys, it's my honor and privilege to welcome you all. But before I do that, please help me give it back to this amazing lady who was just right at the front introducing me. She said a few good things about me, but I'll tell you only some of them are true. The rest of it, she's been paid to say that. Yes? Oh, yes. All right. All right, great. So, guys, for those, you all know me, but do I have your permission to share my journey and share my personal story with you all? Who'd like to know some of that story? Yes? Okay, great. Thank you. Guys, that's how simple our business is. And is it okay if I can take the filters out? And this is how we fuck things up. Okay? Because what we do is we don't keep things simple. Right? So really what happens is that if you saw that example where the process was quite simple, right? And there wasn't many processes to it, right? And it was quite a simple process of riding the bike and starting the bike, right? But in that whole process, as the process went down the line, and the process changed to what, Norman? Like this, right? So who can relate to this in our business that we do, right? So whatever we're doing right now is that we need to keep things so simple to the point that as we don't, it gets lost in translation, and as it gets lost in translation, we have a different outcome altogether, right? Now, I want to open up the floor here. And really have a bit of a discussion about what did you get out of that? What did you get out of that? Because was that clear? Did you understand that video? Because I know it was a bit fuzzy. Kevin, did you understand that? What did you get out of that?
A whole different scheme there, and then there's the cultural differences.
Yes.
People having confidence to do it, not being.
The second also, from the third one, slowly, everything changed. Yeah. I think, in my opinion, if you pick up something from someone, you learn properly and teach to the next person properly.
Completely read all the recommendations that come out. Is everybody aware of how many recommendations actually came? So there's 72 recommendations that came out of the review. So obviously we had the Royal Commission on Disability, which was the first step, which was obviously them going out to the community and talking to people with a disability and getting their feedback about what's working well, what's not working well, and that formed the basis of the review. Okay, so just Google it, just go NDIS review and the document will come up. 72. I suggest that if all of you work in the sector and you want job security, you'll read the recommendations. And it might give you a little bit of anxiety about what some of those recommendations state. So I would suggest that if you've got any anxiety, that you get your manager, sit down and talk about it and keep an open mind about what that change means. I mean, for example, support coordination for myself and Lisa, we're having lots of conversation at breakfast because one of the reviews states that support coordination will end. So there'll be no support coordination. But they're now changing it to a navigator role, which will sit outside of a person's plan. How's that actually going to work? We've just got to work that through. And there's lots of lobby groups with people with a disability, providers. There'll be lots more consultation. So I just tell participants as they call you and might be anxious about the changes, let's just wait to see exactly what happens, because they will be watered down in some regards. But, you know, again, they should look at it that the NDIS is 10 years old this year. It needed a review. You know, public sentiment, I don't know about your friends and family, how they talk to you about the NDIS, but they'll say it's a complete waste of money. It's more expensive than Medicare. How can that be cost effective when there's so much pressure on how we live in Australia at the moment? It's becoming publicly known that Australia is a very expensive place to live. And it used to be one of the cheapest. I think we've gone through a whole thing in a 10-year cycle. So the government's saying now it could be an election lose. If we don't get hold of the NDIS, this could actually end the government. So it's becoming a top priority. So plan management, another big one, won't exist in the future. Participants will be billing directly to the NDIS. So their thinking is, and this is from people with a disability, that 50% of people have been on the scheme now for more than 5 years. They shouldn't need support coordination because it's always going to be a time-limited support. And they're saying one of the big problems is plan managers playing devil's advocate with their funding. So therefore, one of the recommendations is to remove plan management.
You know, everybody's getting funded, everybody's billing, everybody's providing service. There is no boundaries, or the boundaries are not, those boundaries are not clearly defined boundaries. And where ASIC got involved and really had to clean it all up, and we had licensing. And guess what happened at that time? Half the players were wiped out. Why? Because of the fact that they were not expecting the change, right? And because they were not expecting the change, they were not expecting to follow those compliance and those strict boundaries. And then there was a wave of new players coming in, and those wave of new players came in because they only knew the way to do the right way and the right things to do. So I do believe, and this is a little off topic, but because we're sort of talking to support coordinators here, and we want to serve the value to everyone in this space, is that I do believe change is coming, and change is coming for good, right? But we will see a lot of changes, and I believe the first change we'll start to see is 1st of July, right? Then we're going to see a change in January, right? And then we're going to see a massive change next year as we shape, and that's going to look like a 3 to 5 year plan, moving into home and living, the way they do assessments, how they do the funding, setups, a whole lot. So there's a big mountain to climb, right? But there'll be small, steady changes to come.